One thing that I think is easily overlooked in today's world is just how connected we are throughout the world. As a small business owner, I can hire the best employees no matter where they live in the world, as long as they've got a computer and an internet connection.
Welcome to the Get Business Savvy podcast. I'm George Black, and this is AJ Bishop. We're still in the month of November, which is Entrepreneur Month. And to celebrate, we're interviewing entrepreneurs so that we can learn what they learned in the School of Hard Knocks, and we can get some business savvy and save ourselves the trouble and pain they've been through. So I'd like to welcome Mike Wessman to the Get Business Savvy podcast. We're so excited to have you here. I met Mike at Vid Summit, which is this huge YouTube conference a month ago. And he is the owner and founder of Tom's Keys, and just has a fascinating story. So I can't wait to get into this. But Tom, I've already...
We get called Tom all the time, even though my name's Mike.
Yeah. So Mike, why is it called Tom's Keys?
So Tom's Key Company, the short answer is I needed a domain name that wasn't get-a-spare-car-key. I've never heard of it. But the longer answer is Tom's Key Company spun out of my original YouTube channel, which was called Tomahawk DIY.
So you've got this YouTube channel you've been doing, and then 5 years ago, you step into the world of entrepreneurism. What caused the big change?
One of my career goals for, building a hospital was a career goal. And then another career goal that I've had kind of for 15 years now, probably, was to own my own business. When I started YouTube in 2011, that was kind of accidental. Over the years, I realized, hey, I can make a little bit of money with YouTube. And it became kind of the hobby business, right? A side business, where I was making a few bucks here and there.
Off the YouTube income.
Off of YouTube. Yep, off of my original channel, Tomahawk DIY. In the last 5 years, my focus has turned from Tomahawk DIY to Tom's Key Company. And there's now a separate YouTube channel for that business. Really, as the idea started coming to fruition, as I saw some opportunities through YouTube videos I'd produced, that people needed a spare car key, and they didn't want to pay a car dealership $500 and spend hours sitting at the dealership waiting for a key. I had some pretty clear revelation from God, from Heavenly Father, who I just had this inspiration that came of, there's an opportunity here for you to help a lot of people and develop a business. And so that was really the impetus that started pushing me into this direction.
You make car keys. You make the fobs. I mean, it's a complicated key.
Nobody cares about their car key until you lose it. And if it's lost, your car does nothing, right? It can't go anywhere. So the solution that Tom's Key Company has is we provide a do-it-yourself kit. We send a little programming device. We will cut a key blade based on the photo of your existing key. We'll send a new key fob or a new key, whatever's appropriate for your particular vehicle. And then in about 15 minutes, the customers plug the device into their car. It tells the vehicle computer, time to learn a new key, programs it up, and now you've got two keys, or you have a third key, whatever spare key you need.
Outside of the problem being there, what's the passion for getting into this business? Because car keys are a pretty niche industry, I would say.
Yeah, it's very unique. I was not a kindergartner saying I'm going to make car keys for a living when I grow up. It was really accidental. I'm an engineer by training. I love solving problems. I love working through solutions. I'm kind of a detail-oriented person. And so that background, coupled with my passion for YouTube and realizing you can reach thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people. So the passion for car keys really developed as I love helping people. I love solving problems. I had the problem myself, bought a used vehicle. It came with a single key. I wanted another one. My wife needed one, right? I now have a 16-year-old driver. She needed a key. And I wasn't going to go spend $500 or $600 at the dealership making one. So I was solving my own problem and then realized, hey, this is a problem lots of people face. How can we help? How can I provide a service to help people?
So what I'm fascinated about what Mike has done in 5 or 6 years as a small businessman is put together an international team. And I want to hear about this because I think all of us need to understand, like you said, we can go get the best talent in the world. And I want to know how you did it and all of that. So how big is your company? How many employees? And when did you first start hiring on an international level? And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a fun growth and a challenging growth at times. We have about 20 full-time employees now. We also have about 5 part-time employees. Looking back, I hired my first part-time employee internationally in 2019.
Wow.
So I was still working full-time in my day job as a construction project manager. This employee was in the Philippines. And the big question is, how did I find someone in the Philippines? I've never been there. I used onlinejobs.ph, a great company that focuses on connecting employers from all over the world with really talented people all over the Philippines. Pretty quickly, our first employee moved from being part-time to full-time as the business was starting to grow. In 2020, we hired a second full-time person, also in the Philippines. And it wasn't until 2021 that I actually quit my day job.
You got employees in other countries, is that correct?
We do. Yeah, so over the years, that has developed. Most of our international employees are in the Philippines, but we now have, a couple in Taiwan. We have one lady who moved from the Philippines to Canada. So she started as a Filipino employee, and now, she's in Canada. So Canadian employee, I guess. One gentleman in Mexico. We've got someone in Honduras, and then in the U.S. we have 4 full-time employees plus 5 part-time.
In other, not where you are, but across the U.S.
One in Florida, and the others are here in Utah that are all involved in operations and fulfillment.
How did you find job? Were there job boards for these other countries, or how did you find these?
Yeah. You can start Googling and find a number of different job services. Let's see. One person that we've hired in Latin America was through an agency called Virtual Latinos. They specialize in making the connections there. One thing I learned through that experience, they have a very smooth hiring process and helping connect me as a business owner with potential employees. They've done some vetting and screening of team members, and then present team members for me to interview, or they present candidates for me to interview. And that was a great process. In that process, I also learned, for me as a business owner, where we already had 10 or 12 people, mostly in the Philippines at that point, we knew something about working with international people. We know there's cultural differences, there's time zone differences, there's internet differences, there's just differences and challenges. I guess I just have to be careful. I learned through the experience to think about the long game. I don't want to be paying 10 or 20 or 30% of someone's salary to a headhunter for as long as they work for the company.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So what you're saying there is that you have to really know the service, the agency, whether it's a one-time fee or it's a long-term fee.
Yeah, it's an ongoing fee.
So what I'm really interested in here is, how have you kept these same people that you hired a few years ago? Are they still part of your team? And I really want you to talk about, how do you lead them? How do you make them feel a part of the company?
So I think the best way to think about that is, we hire people and intend to have them learn and grow with the company and stick around for the long term.
Okay.
Just like hiring any other employee, maybe an in-office employee or a local employee. Sometimes you make hiring mistakes. We've had to let a few people go for various reasons. But by and large, most of the people we've hired have been here for several years. In fact, just today, our customer service manager pointed out it's her 2-year anniversary.
Wow.
She's been here 2 years, and she started in a different role of the company and then had the opportunity to move into her current role as a customer service manager.
And where is she located?
She's in the Philippines.
Okay.
I think for me, my leadership style is influenced throughout my career from different supervisors, managers, leaders that I've worked with. And I've learned a few things. One thing that I try to keep in my mind that I really want to have is a leadership that's a Christ-like leadership, right? There's a great article by Spencer Kimball that talks about Christ is the perfect leader. So what do I mean by that? Well, qualities like service, accountability, using time wisely, hiring people and helping them learn and grow and develop in their career are all principles that I try to lean on and try to lean into.
All right. So I can understand that, like if you've got them all in Utah in the same building. Okay.
Sure.
But you've got them scattered
They're
across
all over.
the Pacific, South America, Central America, the US. How do you apply your style and have it translate to all these different places?
Boy, that's been a learning experience. I think you talk about School of Hard Knocks. That's been a learning experience.
Yeah. What's the business savvy there?
Yeah. So company culture is important, right? Any company or organization has a culture, and it can develop intentionally and unintentionally, or try to guide it in the right direction. So we have team meetings. When I started full time, there were 2 team members in the Philippines and me as a local person in Utah. We had a team meeting. I don't remember back then, probably twice a week. Now, once a week, we have a team member and all employee meeting where everybody gets on Zoom. We interact. We have a little bit of fun time getting to know people and things. We have different departments reporting. And that's developed over the years. Early on, in addition to team meetings, I would work one-on-one with each team member. Of course, as the team grows, eventually there's not enough time in the day for me to lead and interact with each person. But I like to focus on helping people learn how to solve problems, right? Not just throwing the fish to them, but teaching them how to fish.
Right.
As we've developed, now there's different departments in the company, and they have their own, their own manager who leads smaller group meetings and solves problems amongst themselves. We're just about to start having leadership meetings each week. That's probably something I should have started sooner, but had not, where a smaller group of leaders within the organization can interact and, work on strategy and problem solving.
So what I'm hearing is, like, you started off small by just hiring a couple of people overseas, part of the team, and I'm assuming you learned a lot in that process. And so you now have a team meeting, and then it sounds like there are sub meetings, like by departments, that also may be occurring as well. And this is people at the location in Utah and people wherever they are.
Yeah, distributed throughout the world. There's time zone issues. Do people need to be interacting with one another real time? And then what are their work hours? Or for some roles, is it more flexible?
So as you're setting this up, I know managing those time zones and figuring out that meeting cadence with an international team, that has to take some time to do. I'm wondering, as you've grown, has there ever been a time where, in the School of Hard Knocks, maybe you got a big bruise as you were trying to figure out, how do I manage this international team and keep things together?
One School of Hard Knocks that I've learned working with international teams is cultural differences and remembering to think about different perspectives. I'll give maybe a couple examples. As a business, when we started thinking, let's provide some employee benefits to our team members overseas. We're not obligated to by law, but for me, I believe it's the right thing to do. These people are making a living, they're supporting their family. I mean, I want paid time off, right? I want some medical coverage. Going to the Philippines and trying to figure out how to get medical coverage, it's a whole different world. Another example would be paid time off. Well, how do I handle that? There's some holidays that are pretty common around the world, but there's a lot of holidays that are not, right? 4th of July is very US, right? Thanksgiving. In the United States, it's pretty typical for us to get 10 to 12 days of paid holiday. Well, some of the countries we work in have 20 or 25 national holidays that it's normal for people to have those days off. Now, as a US business owner, I'm like, I'm paying you to work, right? Yeah. It's important that we rejuvenate, we get refreshed, but I'm not sure I can handle 25 days off plus, some additional vacation days or additional paid, sick days. So with that problem, we solved it by saying, you know what, you're going to have 25 days of paid leave. Use it for sick leave, vacation, take those holidays that you want to take. And that seemed to be a good solution.
So if entrepreneurs are listening to this and they're thinking, hey, this is something I need to consider, I need to add some team members, maybe international is the way to go to find the best people. What would be some experiences you've had that would help them avoid hard knocks in this whole arena?
I think it comes back to thinking about how one hires and how one leads. Hiring, whether they're local or international, you're still hiring somebody. You need to define the job clearly. Someone overseas is not a magical person that can somehow do a huge range of work, right? Define the tasks and set them up for success by making sure you have the appropriate training, you spend the time with them, you find ways to connect and interact frequently, whether that's in, face-to-face meetings or using tools like Loom, where you can record some instructions, they can record messages back. It's important to help coach and lead and develop people. Similarly, you've got to interview, right? You have to find ways, sometimes creative ways, to determine, can they really do the job? Do they seem like the right fit? Mm-hmm. And then helping with some milestones or some growth. One little example, when we hire video editors for YouTube, we'll narrow the field down, right? Get the top 2 or 3 candidates. And then I'll give them all the same assignment. I'll pay them and say, hey, you're going to get paid for this. Here's some video footage, edit it. Take a look at our existing edit videos, do an edit. I'll pay you and 1 or 2 other candidates. I want to see how you do. So remembering that team members all over the world are team members. They're people. They've got lives. They've got problems, right? They have health issues or family situations that arrive. They have celebrations and successes. And it's important to me to celebrate that with them.
And that's been a theme that we've heard as well across these interviews, is being very clear in the job description. It seems like a lot of entrepreneurs maybe just, I need help, so hire whoever comes in through the door and we'll figure out what you're going to do as you go. And in an international setting, I'm wondering, how do you know how to validate their skills, given that they have a completely different development background than that you're familiar with here in America?
It can be tricky, but it also comes back to, what am I hiring them for? And then how can I evaluate that? Over the years, we've developed where we have kind of a 3-month probation period where somebody comes on, we've defined a job, maybe it's a customer service job, and they come with some customer service background, but we do deal with something very specific, car keys. Almost certainly, they've never thought about a car key before. And those that are motivated and hardworking and coming with the right mindset develop and transition over to a long-term hire. I think in many ways, it's not terribly different from hiring someone in person.
Yeah, and with what you're saying, I'm kind of pulling out a principle of your hiring process is, like, we have a very clear job need and we're just going to pick the best person who can do it, and they need to demonstrate they can do it repeatedly, whether that's just that first action of edit this video, or even once you make it out of that cut of 3, we're 3-month probation period to make sure you can continue to repeat doing that. It makes a lot of sense, and evaluating someone you need more time than just, I interviewed them, had a conversation. All right, I like them. We're good.
Yeah. And as we interview internationally, communication can be a real challenge, right? Especially with AI now. You can throw what you've written into AI and make it sound many different ways. So we'll first start screening with written questions, right? And look for people to respond and see how they write. And then we'll have some, we'll get on a Zoom meeting, have an interview. Maybe we'll have 2 or 3 interviews that last over a period of time. Again, trying to be deliberate and careful to hire team members that have the personality and the background and the skills relevant to whatever position they're going to fill.
Yeah, this is all really interesting because it's like it's basic hiring, but then you've added a layer of like the complexity of the international, but the way you're talking about it, Mike, it sounds like you're talking about these people like they're right in the next door office, and they are just a Zoom call away. But so I'm very intrigued by all of this, and congratulations on your business. Where are you headed next? I mean, what's next for Tom's Keys?
One thing that was really fun as a business owner, a year ago, my wife and I took a trip to the Philippines, and we brought our team together in person. And that's a whole dynamic. You may have had the experience of meeting people that you've worked with over Zoom for,
Right.
months or years, and then you meet them in person. Oh, they're taller than I expected. They're shorter. They have, wow, that's an interesting tattoo on your hand that I'd never seen before. That was a fun experience to bring our team members together to a resort kind of holiday vacation island, many of whom who had never traveled off the particular island they lived on to go to a fun beach resort. And we got to know each other in a way that you don't get so much through Zoom. So I hope to go back, or hope to maybe travel to some other parts, perhaps Latin America one day, and we'll get team members there, or maybe our business financially gets large enough we can bring everyone together in a common location for a celebration. So
what I'm hearing is, if I'm going to put together an international team, I should put a team together where I want to go. So like, I want a team in Tuscany. so I can go to Tuscany. So
yes, you may pay 25 times more for your team members in Tuscany than you
right. Well, then there's that
internationally, depending on where they're at in the world.
I'll need to get that resort in the Philippines named from you.
It is beautiful and amazingly inexpensive by United States standards.
Wow. Mike, this has been a blast to have you and hear about how you're growing Tom's Keys in the international connections. I just think it's really inspiring, to be honest. So thank you for being on our podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been really fun. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope some people find this helpful. And we've grown a great team, one person at a time, all over the world. And it makes a huge difference for our business.
Yeah, thanks for your time today, Tom. It was great getting to know you, and great getting to hear your story.
Sure thing.
So for more conversations like this one, check out last week. I know you're going to love it. And in the meantime, may you live truly free.